had a peep over the right shoulder, and she's going to blow them away. But Northerly, Danny Miller, pumping away, and Northerly wins the railway.
Welcome to Racing Rewind. Our panel will review and digest the Prime WA Saturday Thoroughbred meeting from 24 hours earlier. If you have an opinion, send a text to 0427 789 571.
Galaxy Star draws away from them. Pike Magician.
Yeah, he's an injured magician at the moment. We'll talk about that and a bit more with Lockie and Michael on Racing Rewind. A very good morning, boys.
Good morning to you, Mart, Michael and listeners. Great to be in the studio after what was a little bit of a lull meeting yesterday there at Ascot, and in fact all around the country here in Australia. The racing wasn't exactly the highlight of the summer, but racing nevertheless.
Morning, boys. Morning, listeners. Yeah, it's that time of the year, isn't it, where there's that little bit of a transition period after the good races, just waiting for the next lot of good races to come up. That was certainly the case here in Perth as well, and very, very hot out there. Even though the temperature may not have been as high as some of the other meetings, Lockie, I can attest that I would not have been tipping myself from the yard.
Yeah, our man, Mart, in the yard, he was just labouring a little bit.
Big labouring. I could tell.
He was struggling.
Just around the flanks, really getting warm, foaming up.
The poor people that he went to dinner with straight after the races didn't even go home to shower, no change of clothes.
Straight there.
Oh, would have been a stench on that table.
But it was very hot the sun, wasn't it?
The southwest breeze, which we'll touch on throughout the program as well, because a lot of people thought that it would be more a swooping middle part of the track type of meeting, which didn't eventuate. It just didn't come, and that's usually the saviour on the hot days, is that southwester breeze coming in. It's quite refreshing and a nice little breeze around, but it just never came. I think it was only 33, 34, so it wasn't the hottest day we've had there, but just right there in the sun, no breeze. It was testing conditions for sure.
Exactly right, and with that sou'wester you touched upon, a lot of people did form thinking that you'd need cover, especially in the back half of the meeting. They'd be flashing home late down the middle of the track. That wasn't the case in the end, Michael.
No, it wasn't. A lot of the wins were from horses closer to the speed and closer to the rail as well, probably from lane 5 inwards. And Odinaka appeared to be the outlier coming down the outside of the track. He was probably the winner of the day, just about. He was a really good performance considering stepping up to a mile, blinkers on, and the way he finished off. But it was not opposite of what we expected, but it was certainly closer to the speed, closer to the rail type of meeting.
From the steward's room, there was one suspension. Luke Campbell received a 12-day suspension for careless riding aboard his ride on Cisco Joe in race number 8.
Okay, before we launch, it's looking pretty good for the Ravens. It's looking even better now. They'll go to 31.10. That guy's run out of the stadium with the ball. Hope he comes back. But this is a good performance here that was Lamar Jackson. So they'll go to 31.10 up here. And they are the overall favourites to win the Super Bowl. And 10 all at half-time. They're under a fair bit of pressure. They've answered their critics really well here in the second half. Right, race number 1 was the Magic Millions Plate. It was over the 1,000 metres.
Back in the field in company well with Desert Whisper, so the well-tried commodity with one behind it, and that's 3 lengths behind those in Rise to Glory at the top of the home straight, though. And Maddie Girl often gone for Stevie Parnham, kicked away by 3 Zippy Zaney. Over on the inside is Please Mister, but Maddie Girl sailing along by the 200. Nicely clear, Maddie Girl. She's opening right up down the outside, running on Desert Whisper. Maddie Girl in front, getting a little tired. What You Got is charging home. The poster's coming. Maddie Girl's in front. She's tiptoeing. She'll fall in. Just got there, Maddie Girl. She scrambled home from What You Got. Behind them, Desert Whisper.
Yeah, she did scramble in the end, didn't she? Maddie Girl, she was tiptoeing. I think Diggers bred this.
He certainly did.
Well done, Diggers, breeding a Saturday winner. That's always a fantastic effort. Beats What You Got and Desert Whisper. Tell us about the race.
A professional little 2-year-old. There's not much of her. I remember seeing her as a yearling at the Magic Millions sale, and she's very strong but not overly tall, and that's exactly how she raced there yesterday. Bounced straight to the lead. She had no luck on debut. 42 days between runs. Found the front. Steve Parnham ensured that a good tempo was set throughout, and I think her professionalism just came to the fore between, I guess, the 600-metre mark and the 200-metre mark, where she just railed like a greyhound. There were a few horses that were niggled at throughout as they went around the home corner, but she was just the ultimate professional. Paddled late. The second, third and fourth horses were certainly coming at her late, but Matty Girl, from all reports, she'll potentially head to a Magic Millions in a month's time, which is obviously over 1,200 metres, so they might need to look at potentially changing her racing pattern up a little bit, because I think if she was ridden for speed over 1,200 metres, she wouldn't see out the trip.
Yeah, she could be vulnerable over that sort of distance from what we've seen. You're dead right on her type. She's short. She's just built like a real 1,000-metre type. Plenty of power, but you'd think that looks a real 2-year-old type. I'm not sure how much further growing and development she has. What she got was a really good trialer, a good run on debut yesterday, ripping late ground. The money really came for Desert Whisper on debut from Luke Fernie's yard. Was another really impressive trialer coming into the meeting and just bombed the start, which was surprising because showed a lot of speed at the trials and didn't necessarily bomb the start, I should say, but probably missed it by about a length and ended up settling a long way back and was a really good effort. She's tiny as well. She's probably not as strong as Matty Girl, but she's a small little filly as well. But the way she finished off is pretty encouraging. And I actually liked the fourth horse, arguably the most, Rise to Glory. He ran home in the fastest splits, was clear last and ducked in badly when Luke Campbell hit him with the stick. It's probably the first time he's ever been touched, which is, you'd think, a 2-year-old having its first race start, and he ducked in quite noticeably but was still able to finish off well. And in the yard, he doesn't really look like a 2-year-old type. He's the one that looks the scopiest and the rangiest, and I think he could make a nice horse in time.
I agree. He started 40-1, and for mine, he was one of the runs of the meeting. He really caught my eye. I think Sue Olive and her team have a really nice horse on their hands. I don't think he's Magic Millions eligible. I'll have to check that in between races, but I really feel that he could make his presence felt in the 2-year-old features come the autumn.
And he's a horse that will improve up to 12, potentially even 1,400 metres. Yep. So it's obviously early days. We're talking mid-January first starter, but he could be a WA size produce sort of type from what we've seen.
Okay, so Rommel size 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the race behind Matty Girl, who Diggers went to winning Rupert and put it over Very Angry Gal to get that horse Matty Girl, and wins the first.
I have just checked BreedNet. There's a full relation to Rise to Glory, the 4th horse that Michael and I like the look of in the upcoming Perth Magic Millions sale.
What about the horse Digger's mare, Very Angry Gal? Does she have one?
No, Diggs sold the mare, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. Go to race number 2, the Amelia Park Plate over the 1,100 metres.
2 lengths away then, if I didn't have a dime outside of a lot of banter. Best of the Gods dropped off, beaten already. Sapphire Street, Final Siren, back in the field, being stoked up by Yule with work to do. And then Angel Undercover, but Ginnivan led. It's Ginnivan a length and a half to Lord Shiva. Sapphire Street down the outside, Final Siren being really tested. Sapphire Street hits the lead, 100 from home. It's Sapphire Street getting away from them down the outside, Angel Undercover, but Sapphire Street comes away. Sapphire Street beat either Angel Undercover or Ginnivan. Rumba Rhythm got right up on the rails late.
Well, this wonderful run for Neville Duncan continues, doesn't it? Oakland Park, Sapphire Street. He owns it fully by Street Boss out of a Schnitzel mare, and just joined in and won really well. First up, off a trial, I noticed young Lukey Morton said after the race, snuck under the guards of the bookies and also the tipsters.
Certainly did. Started $17, and it was a surprise for mine. I couldn't have her, essentially, in this race. She had really not come up last campaign, and you just needed to see her do it first. The trial in the lead up to yesterday's run suggested that she'd return in good order, but I just think she went around that price because punters wanted to see her do it first, and she did exactly that. Settled 3 back the fence. Ginnivan had them off the bridle and chasing at the top of the straight and looked like he was going to give a really good kick, in which he did, but Sapphire Street just travelled into the race so well and let down. In the end, it was a very dominant win. She won by almost 2 lengths. I think she's returned in fantastic order. Certainly going to have a really good campaign.
Absolutely. She was pulling away with from them over the late stages, and there's nothing of her either. She's small, she's really lightly framed, so it was a good effort to finish off the way she did. Perhaps weight might catch up with her a little bit down the track, seeing she is so small, but she's certainly got that turn of foot, so when she can be cuddled up like that and let rip, she looks back to the form she showed as a 2-year-old. Ginnivan is just a completely different horse when he finds the rail, isn't he? He was able to lead yesterday, gave a nice kick, and battled on well to run second. Angel Undercover looks a progressive type. The previous effort, first up when coming from last, finished off really strongly, and yesterday made good late ground. The favourite, of course, for this race was Final Siren, odds on. Stepped a little bit slow and I think they were keen enough to ride him with a little bit of cover anyhow, but they wouldn't have envisaged that he'd be in the second half of the field. Just didn't appear to be the same type of horse from back there, did he?
No, not at all. I doubt they'll be adopting similar tactics moving forward. From all reports, listening to Rebecca Bayliss and the team, the plan was to head towards the Breeders' Classic on the Sunday 4th of Feb down at Bunbury, given the fact that this race is now over 1,200 metres, not the 1,400 metres it had been over previously. I think this is going to be a really nice feeder race for that event in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, Sapphire Street is a filly, as is Angel Undercover, so I'm sure those camps will be keen to get some black type on those fillies, and they're looking for 1,200 as well. And Final Siren, hopefully he's pulled up well, I'm sure Mark Bayliss could potentially be listening. He might be able to flick us a message in regards to how the horse is pulled up.
Because was slow to recover afterwards with the elevated heart rate. So hopefully he's okay.
So hopefully he's okay this morning. But if he did go to 1,200 metres, I suspect he'd find the front almost with ease with the speed he's shown previously. Bridden cold yesterday clearly didn't work. Up to 1,200 metres, finding the front a little easier, I still have confidence that he could bounce back from what we've seen previously.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a really nice horse. And Rumba Rhythm, the fourth horse, still a maiden, was a cracking run along the inside, the way she finished off. If she drops back into a maiden, you'd think she'd be going around short, but she'd be winning. She looks like a nice Saturday type. And just on those colours, Kim Doak's colours, I've just had a quick look at Very Angry Gal, who was speaking about Matty Girl in the previous race. Kim Doak purchased a Hellbent weanling out of Very Angry Gal last year at the English-Australian weanling sale for $80,000. So we could be seeing another Matty Girl's half here, perhaps as a 2-year-old.
You'll be happy with that. Hellbent had a very good day yesterday.
And I've just received a message from Mark Bayliss. He said the horse pulled up okay, but the heat just got to him.
Heat got to who? To Balo?
Both, I think. And Michael, if we haven't
I was about to say, you're not alone there.
One here from Darcy. Now, with Ginnivan moving to Hawthorn, is there any chance of a colour change for your horse?
I doubt it, because the colours weren't Collingwood colours in the first place.
I can understand where Darcy's coming from. I think it's a clever move.
Oh, okay.
Change of stable, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, no. Just change the colours. Put a bit of mustard in there. The mustard pots. Go to race number 3 now, and the Tap Touch West Speed Platinum Handicap over the 1,000 metres.
Bisector will lead them to the turn. It's Bisector, 450 to go from Indy Ruler. A length and a half away, then Red Inferno look to be tracking up very well outside of Make Your Point. The Lady is a Vamp follows those. She's into open air. At the 250, Indy Ruler comes at Bisector, heads it immediately. Red Inferno, Make Your Point behind them. The Lady is a Vamp. She's just struggling to get to them for the moment. Indy Ruler had shaken them off with Make Your Point coming now. Indy Ruler from Make Your Point. Indy Ruler scored on return from Make Your Point. Red Inferno third from either Bisector or the Lady is a Vamp.
Well, they backed this early in the week, didn't they? We were talking about on Straight Up about the amount of early money for Indy Ruler. They knew what they were doing. Jade McNaught combines with Lukey Fernie to get the money.
Certainly did, Indy Ruler. There were plenty of gear changes about this horse. Essentially, winkers on, butterfly bit off, bubble cheeker offside off, blinkers off, earmuffs pre-race on. It was all happening for Indy Ruler, and that was the best I've ever seen him race. Do you remember that start at York? Jade McNaught was essentially high-fiving punters down the outside fence, and
that gear comes off and he goes straighter.
Yeah, exactly. And that can happen sometimes, and the trial suggested that, and even in the lead up to yesterday, he started a $5.50 chance, settled outside the lead, and I found it a really interesting post-race interview with Scott in the fact that Jade actually said that she thinks he appreciates having not necessarily ridden with cover, but just having a horse to follow and having a speedy horse like Bisector drawn inside of him. I think that did him the world of good, just helped him get around the corner, and from there, the first thing I did was watch the steward's vision. He looked like he went straight as a die. So great training performance from Luke Fernie. He continues to saddle up plenty of winners. And Indy Ruler looks like a nice horse that can pinch a few more.
Yeah, he's can do it at both ends as well. It was a tough effort to work across from that side of gate, settle on speed, and kept finding over the late stages. Make Your Point was having his first start for the Tom Wolfe yard. It was a really good run. Was sweating up terribly in the mounting yard beforehand. Previously, he needed the
looks
clerk.
Like a handful.
Yeah, and he still ran really well. So you'd think with that the edge taken off him a little bit with that first up run and more racing, Tom Wolfe could have a nice enough horse there. Red Inferno's been doing a good job for Mitch Pateman first 2 runs for his yard since coming back from an extended break. But in running, it looked like the horses back in the field were looming large on straightening, but they just couldn't get anywhere near the first 4. I think perhaps the first half of the race might have only been run reasonably steady, because even a horse like Requisition at 30-1 loomed really large on straightening, looked like it was going to finish in the money, and they all just appeared to be going up and down on the spot somewhat. The leading brigade just appeared to be quite advantaged this race.
Exactly right. The Lady is a Vamp started favourite. She's not an overly big mare, so I think the 58.5 may have caught up with her, but I think the point you make in regards to the fact that it was a difficult race to make up ground is certainly worth noting. But the Lady is a Vamp, maybe up in grade, down in weight. That's how Lou might get another win out of her.
Okay, we move now on to race number 4 out there at Ascot yesterday. This was the Peters Investments Handicap over the 1,000 metres.
Flight running fourth, Premium Choice 3 deep around it. Onto its back now, tracking up behind them, Rear Admiral, who comes out 4 wide being put into it. Beads looks for a rails run, then Featherweight Cash Away. State of Power tested by the 250. Premium Choice Nahachi, Rear Admiral running on. State of Power kicking determinedly. 100 to go, State of Power now, Premium Choice coming at State of Power. Cash Away flying on the extreme outside. Dived Premium Choice, I thought, might have just held on from Cash Away, who came with a blinding finish. Close up Featherweight Nahachi, State of Power, Capital Flight, deep out Rear Admiral. Didn't really...
Yeah, terrific win. This love the post-race interview too with Tony Triscari that you were involved in there. Lock, you come a long way as a post-race interviewer. Joe has a party at his absolute physical best there in the straight, was he?
Yeah, he certainly was.
Down and dirty Brad Parnham style.
Get you up and about, didn't it, Mark?
I liked it, yeah.
And
Joe,
the post-race interview.
Good.
Oh, there we go, Mark.
Daily double.
But good win this, Premium Choice. 3 deep, no cover throughout. Interesting to note that this horse has had some breathing issues previously, so Tony and Joey both had no concerns with him being in the position he was throughout, because it's just so important to keep those horses with little wind issues just in a rhythm, and that's exactly what Joey did. He travelled into the race really well, just held on to him, and then saved him up for that one last little sprint, timed his run to perfection, because obviously Cash Away, the big grey, flashed home late, but all honours to Premium Choice. It was great to see him win once again on a Saturday.
Bar plates on all 4.
Yeah.
You don't often see that, do you? Let alone first up and win, so it was a good effort.
And the confidence from the stable, they were very, very keen, despite that little gear change and the fact that he went around at a big price.
Cash Away was a super run first up, coming from that far back. He was probably, at that stage of the day, we'd seen the horses go closer to the rail, and he really launched down the extreme outside to miss by a nose, ran home in clearly the fastest closing splits of the meeting, 33.10 last 600. So he is a fresh horse, so I'll be interested to see how he goes next start and the start after, but he's clearly come back really well. State of Power was good, ridden on the speed, only beaten narrowly. The heart she had to work across, took a little bit to get to the breeze, but stuck on really well. Both of his runs back have been great this campaign. He was only beaten a half length yesterday, but I guess the disappointments, $2.50 favourite Rear Admiral, $5.50 second favourite or third favourite Harmika. Harmika firstly didn't probably get enough room early and was ridden a pair closer. When the speed came out of the race with Ain't No Other Man yesterday morning, she looked destined to have to settle leaders back, and she just didn't appear to have the same finish even when the gaps did appear. And Rear Admiral's been racing okay over the throughout the campaign, but she's been expected to win a couple of races this time in, hasn't she?
I think she's a little bit of a tease. The manner in which she travels in her races, it looks like she's just going to let down, and it honestly looks like she could have won 3 or 4 this preparation with the way she travels, but I just query whether she really has the killer blow that she requires at this level to ensure that she can go to the next, graduate from a 72 plus and be a really genuine 78 plus lower stakes level horse. But not completely dropping off her, but I'd just like to see her do it first.
So how many would Tony having work? Because he's had 4 wins from his last 8 starters, Premium Choice, Premium Girl, Mythical Miss and Fast Flicker.
I'd say that'd be the 4, and then maybe add a couple youngsters as well, so 5 or 6.
Soldier Pat in there as well, Pat. So yeah, he'd only have a handful of horses, I'd say.
Doing a terrific job.
Absolutely.
Well done.
And how that yard, the property David Harrison's, they can produce one first up, no trial, can't they? They do it time in, time out.
They certainly can.
Harrow, he's made an art form of. I think trainers should be able to do it too.
Yeah, especially sprinters.
On to race number 5, the reliable Ascot maintenance handicap. Got out to 2,200 metres.
The turn, it'll need a sprinkling of luck coming to the corner. Just a minute back there, so's Export Man held up at the 350 and around the turn. Kerman Rocket hit the front from Blue Card. Third, Tiff's Lad, Atlanta's Beach down the outside. Go Bella and Captain Pluto going for the same run. The favourite saw a bit of daylight, speared through, making ground as Tiff's Lad, Atlanta's Beach come together from Go Bella. Captain Pluto trying to build. Atlanta's Beach, Captain Pluto driving hard. Tiff's Lad is in the middle. They went to it a bob of the heads. Captain Pluto on the inside has won it narrowly. Captain Pluto has just won from Tiff's Lad, Atlanta's Beach. Go
Been
Bella
talking about
those.
this fellow ad nauseum, haven't we, on this show and also on Straight Up, and it was a matter of time before this win come.
Yeah, it was. He was knocking on the door, finally drew a gate, but in the end, the gate didn't really help him with the way this race was run. They went very, very slow, and Captain Pluto was in a tricky position, 3 back the fence. Chris Parnham just had to wait and wait and wait. Eventually, the gap came up the rail and Chris took that gap, and the horse was just good enough to nose out Tiff's Lad at an enormous price late. But Captain Pluto, good to see him get back in the winner's circle. You just wonder if that's the confidence-boosting win that he needs to go to another level. Marty, as you said, we've spoke about this horse a lot, and it just appears as though they're just keen to just race him and ensure that next campaign he comes back a bigger, better horse and better version of himself and is racing in the manner in which Grant and Alana want him to.
I still think he'll be a better horse with a bit of sting out as well. His record certainly reflects that. That was his first win on a good track from 9 attempts. He's won on a soft, he's won on a heavy. I think he'd be a good Belmont horse, but you can notice him in the yard as well. He has got a bit fitter each run. He's sort of carried a bit of condition early in the prep, and now that he's hit this distance, a few runs in, Grant and Alana would have had a bit more time to work him out as well. First preparation in their yard. The planets aligned there yesterday, and a terrific ride by Chris Parnham as well. Picked it up late, of course, from William Pike after he wasn't able to ride, and there were some hairy moments in the run, but he made all the right decisions, and the horse won well from Tiff's Lad, who ran a bottler at 100 to 1. He's been going really, really well. Was trucking into the straight as well. Was travelling strongly. Missed by a nose. Atlanta's Beach had to peel out 3 and 4 deep. The big boy drew barrier 2, which isn't ideal for him. But when they started to walk, he just pulled his way around the field and was beaten narrowly. He's going really well. Go Bella rose 4 kilos and still ran a nice 4th. So there were some good performances there. But the disappointment was I Love Your Smile, the last start winner, who ended up settling 1 out, 1 back, but probably just had to work for 400 or 500 metres in order to get there. And she looked gone on straightening. So perhaps just ridden that bit closer for a horse that typically gets back wasn't ideal for her.
Yeah, exactly. Lucy Fiore reported that the mare raced in a flat manner throughout. So something in the back of my mind also makes me think that perhaps backing up for that win off only 5 days from Perth Cup Day to the following Saturday, whilst it was a great win, perhaps that
took a bit out of her.
Exactly right. So be forgiving of the effort of I Love Your Smile.
The thing I like about Captain Pluto is the way he always hits the line really hard. Even when he gets beat, he's charging at the line, and I don't know, there's something about him. For mine, I think there'll be a good cup in him somewhere down the track.
And he's up in work at the right time. Obviously, the Pinjarra Cup and that race series, Bunbury, Southwest, it's not far away. So what's to say that he just can't stay in work, continue to tick over, and then target those cups on the minimum?
He'll only go to a 72 now. He could even go to lower tier races. Imagine him in an Albany Cup or those sort of races coming up. They're only in March. So I'm pretty sure they're around March, Albany Cup thereabouts. So yeah, he could be, if he's going to blow too many points in the Pinjarra Bunbury Cups, he actually has the luxury of being able to aim lower.
Halfway stage of proceedings. Let's take a break on Racing Rewind.
You are listening to Racing Rewind on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
The Riverside with 450 to go. Bruce Almighty got a cheap mid-race lead. Cheval de Varga about a length between them at the top of the home straight. Big Batter Boom immediately coming under pressure. Down the outside, Ace Command, upper limits being tested. Followed further back, Starry Heights, Cold Chisel. Cheval de Varga hit the front, rolled straight back to the rail. Ace Command is coming on strongly, but Cheval de Varga in front. Ace Command, Starry Heights is down the outside, but they won't get to Cheval de Varga. Cheval de Varga won it from Ace Command, getting right through in the middle. Caramundi Caramundi late from on the outside, Starry Heights. Upper Limits was really
tell us about this win, Lock, of Cheval de Varga.
Good win, awfully unlucky last start, but was in a race with plenty of speed over 1,400 metres. You step up 100 metres, and the likes of a Big Screen and Laurentino weren't in this event yesterday, and that meant that the race was run at a much slower tempo in the middle stages of the race. Cheval de Varga was allowed to roll forward. Lactaramoli handed up to Bruce Almighty and Jay McNaught, who led. They had a nice little breather down the back, but Jay McNaught was keen to, I guess, make it a test from the 600-metre mark, and I think that really suited Cheval de Varga. He travelled into the race really nicely. Once he balanced up, it was clear that Lactar still had a lap full of horse underneath him, and he's just so tough. He's been such a good horse for Merrill Haley for a long time now, and as an 8-year-old, that was a really good win, perhaps career best, because the way he fought them off late was brave, albeit with I guess a lesser credentialed Ace Command running in second.
Yeah, I think it was the tempo of the race really played into their hands, didn't they? Cheval de Varga just got a soft run in the breeze. Ace Command, one out, one back. Difficult race to make up ground in. Starry Heights, even Upper Limits, the favourite, was bitterly disappointing. He enjoyed a nice run, one out, two back behind the outsider, and a horse that was terribly weighted given the rating of the race, and Ace Command tracked him in running and wasn't able to get past him in the end. So it was a tricky sort of race. Upper Limits still went unders clearly, and who knows, the trainer said that he'll undergo blood test and advise of any findings, so there may be an issue behind the scenes that we're not aware of that to come out of the race. But a little bit of a surprise, the result of this, but I think Caramundi was the run of the race nevertheless. Back in the field, he's absolutely flying the way he hit the line.
Great run. It was interesting watching the race from the 500-metre mark. It looks like Sean McGrady is going to pull him out to the outside of the track, but
perfect.
I think he just made the decision that if he goes around them rather than through them, which he did, he was never going to get anywhere near them. And then once he actually balanced up, he found the line really well. I'm pretty sure there's a 1,600-metre event in a couple of weeks' time that continues this series. He'll be awfully hard to beat next start, provided that the speed continues to be on. And I presume a horse like Cheval de Varga would go to the mile, and I guess it'd be run in very similar fashion again. Bruce Almighty would probably lead with Cheval de Varga to his outside, and Caramundi, with a better barrier, he'll be awfully hard to beat.
Absolutely. Sean McGrady said that in the beaten jockeys afterwards, that if he had drawn a better gate, he would that probably would have been the distance, been the difference. But by the same token, he's not a horse that has a huge amount of early speed anyhow, is he? So, he may have settled a pair closer, which would have been the difference, you're right, but he's not a horse that can definitely use that sort of barrier. Starry Heights was under the whip, turning for home. I think Michael Poy was probably the right sort of rider yesterday, that aggressive, get-up-y type of jockey, and he was better, but the market knew again, though, didn't it? $2.30 or whatever he was, out to about $3.60, and ran, $4.80. He was nearly each way in the race.
I'm just not sure what to do with him now. His last two runs, he just really hasn't travelled at all, and he's found the line well over the final 100 metres, but he's also been, I guess, making up ground on horses that are tiring. So It wouldn't surprise me if they tip him out and start fresh again. He's an 85 raider. I think he could bypass the Pinjarra Classic, Bunbury Stakes, give him a good break, bring him back in the winter, and hopefully we see a better version of him, because I just don't think he's going as well as what he was 3, 4 and 5 starts ago, when he was travelling better and really attacking the line well.
100%. I actually tipped Cold Chisel at a price yesterday, and he just got held up fleetingly turning for home behind Upper Limits, who probably didn't take him into it as much as what he expected, and he just had to bide his time, check and restrain off heels, and then he just lost his momentum. But I thought he came again late. He wasn't too bad.
Yeah, back to Starry Heights. Recall that post-race interview after he beat Billy Ray at Ascot on the 9th of December, and Grant said, well, I think we really have to start to think about big races this time next year.
Yep.
And I think they probably gave him a month off to come back and try and get the ratings up or whatever.
Well, he was progressing like a railway horse, wasn't he?
Exactly.
He was just doing everything like you would expect.
And they know what a railway horse is, obviously. So when you consider that that's the opinion they have of the horse, he's going unders at the moment. So that's where I just think that they might give him a good break, bring him back in winter, hopefully win 2 or 3, and then set him for a railway.
Just before we go, 34-10, that final score for Baltimore, so they progress. 49ers are up next. big game coming up. I'll just get a market for you on that. I had it up and then moved around a bit. Here it is. We've got Green Bay 450, 49ers are $1.21. So that game will get underway in half an hour. The line's 10.5 and total points is set at 50.5. We go to race number 7 from Ascot yesterday, the Studco handicap over the 1,200 metres.
This one in the race as they come down to the turn at the 400-metre mark, and Art of Consent's the leader, snuck a length and a half, Magic to Exceed. Big Day on it, straightened up in third spot, just in front from Traverne, followed by Vampy Play Uncle Gerard behind them with Yarra Lee. It's Art of Consent, Big Day on it, Magic to Exceed with 150 left to go. Getting up in behind them, Valsacina. Uncle Gerard is starting to charge right down the outside. Big Day on it in front. Uncle Gerard is diving with Comic Hero. Big Day on it. Big Day on it. Scrambled home from Uncle Gerard, and on the outside, Comic Hero jumping right out of the ground.
Shooters double yesterday. Big Day on it for Ashley Arthur Daly Maley, and gets the money with Big Day on it. Good to see and good to hear Shooter on the show earlier on today.
Certainly
was.
Up
and about, didn't he?
He was after the double yesterday. Why wouldn't you be up and about? Big Day on it. Good win. A different style of win for this horse. I've always profiled him as a freewheeling 1,100 metre horse, but yesterday with the speed engaged, which I thought Shooter spoke about really well, both in the post-race and earlier on this morning with you and Brad Mart, but settling in the box seat, travelled really well. Interesting that Shooter said he just took a little bit of fighting in the early stage of the race just to relax, but once he eventually did relax, he travelled kindly for him. Gap came at the top of the straight, took it nicely, and from there, he's just such an honest horse. He's a 5-year-old that has had 31 starts, so Ash hasn't missed him, but he's won 5 times and has been placed another 10 times, so he rarely runs a bad race, and I think he may have even come back better than ever this preparation.
Yeah, he's clearly come back better this time in, and he's just honest. He puts himself on speed. He does it at both ends, and he's a really good bread and butter type of horse. No world beater, but he's the sort of horse that'll keep going around and keep earning money. Uncle Gerard's come back in really good form this campaign. Was off the track last start, 3 and 4 wide, no cover the trip. Yesterday, he got held up a bit on straightening. When he eventually found the gaps, he was really strong through the line. He looks like a nice horse that can be a Saturday type in time. So he's Jason Pateman, I think, as he was walking out of the races yesterday, he said to me that he's due for some luck because his horse has been getting absolutely none of it over the last couple of months, but he appears to have a nice horse there with Uncle Gerard. And I loved the run of Cosmic Smile, or Comic Hero, I should say, who hit the line brilliantly, came from last and was ripping late ground off them. I think it was a big follow, especially the way the track played for a lot of the day.
Exactly right. I think Connections would have been hoping at this stage of the day, race 7, that the Sou'wester was in and Chris could just ride him cold, let him find the line, but the way the track was playing, the Sou'wester wasn't present. It was clearly advantageous to be closer to the fence. He was one of the runs of the day.
And Simon Miller's stable, I think, is just really starting to pick back up and click into gear now. He's probably had a bit of a lull by his standards the last few months, but Matty Girl obviously won there yesterday. Comic Hero was another really good run, and his other 2 runners in this race were luckless. Valsacina was held up a lot of the straight. Art of Sabrage never really saw daylight. They're all going well at prices, so I think that's just some good signs now that his stable's back to where it was, and look out for him the next couple of months.
It was a messy race, though, wasn't
it?
Yeah. Messy race that one out of the barriers, Lukey Campbell's horse defending.
Yeah, he got dumped out of the gates and he got suspended, so nice day for Lukey.
Yeah. But there was, 3.8, 3.9, 11 horses, a lot of them in the stewards report. Maybe just put a question mark on the race lock. What do you think?
Flash Max, what did we make of him? He went around $4 chance.
I thought he was disappointing yesterday. Was yesterday his first attempt at Ascot? It was. Whether he just didn't quite handle the Ascot track for the first time. The way he travelled into it, he was presented at the right time, but a horse like Comic Hero followed him into the race and beat him by 3 lengths. So,
What about the betting move?
7 into $4 within an hour, maybe even less. He was really, really well backed.
Crunched.
In the end, has started favourite.
How do you look in the yard, Mick?
I did say on STC actually that he looked like he has had some improvement to me. That he's a really nice type of a horse, but a little bit burly. That's the first time I've seen him though. That might just be him, but
Awesome Rock, is he?
He did look like a horse that would improve with the run.
Okay, we'll go to race number 8 now. This is the Mrs. Max handicap over that flying Ascot mile.
The tail, 400 to go, and their homeward bound Material Witness led the way. Rogues Point running second. They've got the measure of Royal Gap for the moment. Back on the inside looking for the gap. Bandolier Bow, Speak to Me, Filthy Habits putting in their claims. Back toward the inside, Manhattan Strip, followed by Odenaka. 150 left to go. Material Witness, Speak to Me, picking it up though, and Odenaka's charging right down the outside, finishing brilliantly over the top. Odenaka swept up, grabbed the lead from Speak to Me. Odenaka's won it from Speak to Me, queuing up for third. There on the inside, close up, Material Witness.
Well, where did this win come from? We've been all over Odenaka as a younger horse, lost his way, and he found his way yesterday.
Didn't he look good as a 2-year-old some 12 to 18 months ago? He was just absolute. That first win over 1,000 metres was so eye-catching. He backed up off 7 days into the Pinjarra Magic Millions. He looked like a great chance in the Magic Millions, which is obviously one of our key feature races for the 2-year-olds, and he's had a reasonable time off, but it's taken him a long time to come back to this level. Even this campaign, he's been finding the line okay, but yesterday, winkers off, blinkers on, out to the mile for the first time. We clearly saw the best version of Odenaka. Interesting to note that Sean McGrady still doesn't think that Ascot really suits him that well. He still feels that he struggles to make up ground when they're going around the home turn, but once he balanced up, I thought he found the line really well, and especially his final 200, it was really sharp. If a horse can show that type of turn of foot over 1,600 metres, they're going to win plenty of races here in Perth.
Win of the day for mine, Odenaka, the only horse to do what he did down that part of the track from so far back. Not that there was a noticeable pattern or bias of the day or anything, but he still was a bit of an outlier the way he won, and up to a mile, he won by over a length, pulling away from them. The acceleration he showed between the probably 300 to the 100 was just outstanding, how he just reeled them in within a matter of strides, and didn't see the win coming, same as you. Thought it was a big surprise, but he's always looked like a horse that would want a mile. He's always sort of been steady out of the gate, settles a long way back, does his best work late, and perhaps he's just been looking for this sort of ground with the shades going on, but still a really good win. I love the progression of the second horse as well, Speak to Me. He's an absolute monster. Definitely would have been the biggest horse on course yesterday.
Behind you.
He's been able to step up to Saturday grade and perform really well his last 2 starts. And interviewing Peter Giadresco prior to the race, he thinks the horse could be, he's hoping the horse could develop into a Country Cups type of a horse as well. So they're expecting him to be able to get over ground. I think this is only his second race preparation as well, so he's doing a super job.
He's been up for a little while now.
Yeah.
What feel do you get from Peter in regards to whether he continues to race on or whether he's due for a break?
I think he might have another 1 or 2. I didn't actually ask him that, but he did think in time. This race was this campaign was all about not so much education, but just experience and just getting him to the races, because he is a lightly raced 4-year-old, and next time in, I think he was hoping that he could develop into a staying type of a horse. The rest of the field, difficult to get too much of a guide on. Material Witness led, battled on well. The stablemate, Fat Roy Slim, made really good late ground against the rail. Flower in the Wind was better. Really good run first up, even second up, and then hit the line well yesterday. Manhattan Strip was well in the market. It was probably a touch disappointing, as was All My Money, but Mystic Jane was the horse I actually tipped and thought was really disappointing on face value. Then looking at the replay this morning and watching and reading the stewards report, copped a KO just about at the 200 metre mark. So that certainly explains why she dropped out so quick.
Yeah, exactly right. That was in fact the ride in regards to Luke Campbell that he got suspended on, and the horse that was the byproduct of that interference was Mystic Jane. Yep.
Okay, we come to the final race of the day, race number 9, the McMahon Handicap over the 1,400 metres.
Near the inside, coming to the turn, likewise looking for the way out is Count the Sessions. Around them goes First Missile, followed further back Secret Identity, but Gift of the Heart headed for home, a length and a half clear. Never Sober, the run coming for with Outridge. Down on the inside, Birdie Eagle, Laurentinio. Count the Sessions trying to work its way through as First Missile launches. It's coming quickly. Gift of the Heart is the leader. Gift of the Heart, a length and a half. First Missile. Gift of the Heart kept going. First Missile with a dive late. Gift of the Heart, I thought, scrambled home. It's Gift of the Heart just from First Missile. Fluoro Neuro charging from the back of the field. Looked as though it might have grabbed third from Heskett.
Yeah, there it is there. Gift of the Heart. Roy Rogers, Matty Derrick combining. The ladies' horse just beats First Missile. McGrady would have had a treble there without Reg. Fluoro Neuro back in fourth.
Gift of the Heart, nice win this. Always been a horse that has been able to set a nice cruising speed out in front, and that's exactly what occurred there yesterday. From barrier 12, Matty Derrick was very positive on this boy, found the front, ensured that they rolled along at a genuine tempo, and from there was just the strongest horse laid. I thought it was a good win. It'll be interesting to see what Roy does with him next. Obviously, he had to do a fair amount of work from barrier 12, but whether he's keen to step him out to 1,600 metres where he can just get it that little bit easier out in front. I don't think the mile is beyond him. The way he found the line yesterday, I don't think he was completely paddling late, but still maybe over a mile he can just get it that little bit easier and have a bigger kick up upon straightening. But the second horse clearly has come back in fantastic order, Michael. First missile, Paula Wag has done a wonderful job with him.
Absolutely, on a comeback from a tendon, I think it was,
yep.
And he was a good run first up, and since he stepped up to the 1,400 metres, he's produced 2 rippers. And I think I interviewed Paula Wag prior to his win second up, and she didn't really think he'd win that day. She still thought there was plenty of improvement to come, and that was evident yesterday as well. So he should be on the up, and he showed a lot of ability early doors, so it's good to see Paula. I think she's only got a couple of horses in work, so she's got a nice one there. And just back on Gift of the Heart, he's made a pretty good progression the past 12 months. He's only broke his maiden status January last year. That was in Albany at start number 8, so he took a little while to break through, and since then he's picked up a couple of Saturday wins. He's run, I think, 3 Saturday placings, so he's certainly progressing in the right direction, and it sounded like post-race, both Roy and Matty held him in pretty good regard. Without Reg has come back well, and Fluoro Neuro was a huge run. I think probably even though Odinaka was able to do it in the previous race, he was set a little bit of a task, was always going to settle last from that wide gate, but he finished off as well as anything. And I thought Countless Sessions was a bit luckless, didn't get clear at the right time, and also Secret Identity, who went around at big odds. I thought I saw something there first up, didn't get a huge amount of room, but was making good late ground towards the inside. I
agree. I thought he was a really good run. Metallan, once again, was disappointing. He is just one of the most hit and miss horses here in WA. We thought that...
Looked super yesterday as well.
We thought he was back to his best last start, and perhaps they could get some continuity into his racing in terms of his consistency. But yesterday, Ryder reported that the gelding raced in a flat manner throughout. He was very disappointing, ran the last, beaten 6 lengths.
They must pull their hair out with horses like that. He's a real head-scratcher.
A couple of XWA horses winning interstate yesterday too. She's graceful, winning at Gawler, and Rocky Path winning the last at Camperdown. Billy of Thornley got on a Rocky Path.
Rocky Path, wow.
$20.
Fred Kersley in the left. You would have loved watching that, mate.
It was a very good ride from Fred, let me tell you that.
Rising 8-year-old mare. She's done a good job, hasn't she?
She looked absolutely fantastic in the coat there yesterday. 5 away from 9 o'clock. Time for a break. We'll come back with horses to...
On Racing Rewind, it is time for the boys to look back and determine who are the black bookers, the ones to be on next start, the horses to follow.
Righto, horses to follow. Could be a bit tough today, I reckon.
No, I like a few here, mate.
Oh, you like a few.
Tricky meeting, but there's some horses to follow. Rise to Glory out of the 2-year-old race. Rumba Rhythm, as Michael touched upon, back to a maiden, will be very hard to beat. Cashaway returned really well, and Comic Hero.
Well, Lochie stole my thunder there with Rise to Glory, Rumba Rhythm and Comic Hero, but I think Valsacina's getting back towards her best as well. I think Simon Miller I touched on. I reckon his stables, the wheels are starting to turn.
Okay, what about Bunbury today? We've got this 8 eventer down there, gets underway at 1:35. Any thoughts?
I made Keradwin from Michael Lane's stable a follow after her last start here in town. She now drops back into a Class 3 at Bunbury, gets the claim of Lukey Campbell, Gate 5, $2.80 to $2.50. Should be hard to beat.
I think we can have something on 7 Iron in race number 2.
Hilly.
7 Iron. Now, that's doing battle with a pickup ride for Sean
Extreme
McGrady.
Love.
Extreme Love, who he said was his best ride of the day. So, yeah, that 7 Iron goes good. Remember, it's come off a very good time. Is that a playing goal?
It's an Awesome Rock.
Awesome Rock, that's right.
Out of Fine Approach.
Okay, minute to go. One off the text line. When does Luke Campbell start his suspension?
I'll get that up right now. He starts his suspension midnight on the 21st.
Yep.
So he's book a ride today, Bunbury, and then he's off. And how many days was that, sorry?
14.
14 days.
12, sorry. 12.
12. And what's the latest on William? Have you heard anything else that hasn't been reported as yet?
No. Same reports. Jeez. 8 to 10 weeks.
Significant crack, though, in that. I'm not a radiologist, but... that surely that takes more than 2 months to heal. It's a decent enough crack.
Apparently they posted. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
I'll get it up for you, Mark, after this and get your expert opinion.
We'll count down to the news at 9 o'clock. Laura Ernest will be taking us through the morning into the afternoon. Oh, yeah, that looks significant. That certainly does. And thanks to Sophie Stone and also to Brad Hardy